Hello, welcome to another edition of CSBJ Radio. I am your host, Greg Wilson, the owner and publisher of Connection Small Business Journal. Hey guys, it is Friday. That's right, it is Friday, a beautiful Friday. And let me tell you, we have just a full-fledged program for you today. The title of today's podcast is Move the Needle of Your Business. Move the needle of your business. Today's podcast is being brought to you by Supreme Fast Tax. Go by, see them today. They're located right there on Winton Road in Columbus, Georgia. Their telephone number is 706-507-1040. Drive down Winton Road, look for the red roof, 2450 Winton Road. Go by, see my good friends there at Supreme Fast Tax in Columbus, Georgia, 706-507-1040, and they are the sponsors of today's podcast. Today's podcast, again, is entitled Move the Needle of Your Business. Move the needle of your business. And you know, when we are actually in business for ourselves, you know, it's very easy for us to rely on the help of others, which is good to a certain degree, yes. And we have just a wider range of resources that are available to us, your local Chamber of Commerce, your local SBA office, maybe a local college or a local university. But at the end of the day, even with every resource that's available to us, everything that is out there, every online article, everything that we maybe read or see published or hear or maybe watch on television, at the end of the day, we are responsible ourselves for moving the needle of our business. We don't want to get stuck in the startup process. If you are a startup, maybe you had an idea, you took that idea or maybe that hobby and you want to go into business for yourself, you are considered a startup. Now, 5 years later, if we are still in the startup phase, I would dare say that is room for concern. And I'm being very gracious with the 5-year mark. I'm being very gracious with that 5-year mark. If we are still in the startup process, if we're still in the startup phase, 5 years after this idea hits your brain, and 5 years after you take that idea and you start to implement action, 5 years later, if you do not have a very good or a viable business plan, I am concerned about you. I'm concerned about the longevity of your business. If 5 years in, 2 years in, 3 years in, 4 years, 5 years in, again, I'm being very gracious with the 5-year mark. 5 years in, if we don't have maybe an adequate marketing plan, 5 years in, if there's no growth in that startup, I would be very, very concerned. And please know that at the end of the day, you and I, as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, as one that has this great startup idea, at the end of the day, you and I are the only ones wholly accountable for moving the needle of our own business, moving the needle of our own business. And, as business professionals, it's very easy, I should say, to get stuck in just a mundane, day-to-day type of living, a mundane day-to-day status quo. And that breeds complacency. And that's why I really want to talk today to you, the small business owner, to you in our listening audience. We are responsible for moving our own needle. Now, if I have a complacent attitude, the needle of my business does not move. If we're not careful, we can just sit and wait for there to be a knock on the door, or wait for someone to walk into our office and just blow us away, with whatever. But we are responsible for moving our own needle. So let's take a look at what is actually moving the business needle. Again, you are responsible for it. So what does moving that business needle look like? Moving of any needle is going to make a noticeable difference in your business. All right. We want that needle to move from zero profit to profit, right? If we are operating currently in the red, we want to move that needle from the red to the black at the end of the year, at the end of your fiscal year, if you give yourself 12 months, if you give yourself 72 months, or we want to see a profit in our business. We want to see the marketing plan that we have work. We want to see the social media plan that we have work. And at the end of the day, you, the entrepreneur, you, the sole proprietor, you, the business owner, you, the one with this great idea, we are the only ones that are responsible for moving that needle. Now, there's some things in order to move the needle. There are some things that we want to talk about these things briefly here that are necessary. And we can't get around it. We can't sugarcoat it. We can't get around it. We can't look into another way of making this happen. We, as a small business owner, are going to need these things to move our own needle. And the very first thing that you need, the very first thing out the gate, now I understand the business plan. We talked about that earlier, and we talked about all these other different things. But at the very first thing that we're going to need, it starts with the C. And that word is commitment. You're going to have to want to move your business needle every single day. Honestly, 7 days a week. In some shape, form, or fashion, we have to want to move and be committed to moving the business needle. With commitment, you actually understand the benefits of doing so. And you are not going to settle. You're not going to get complacent. You're not going to just develop or retain a lethargic type attitude. You are committed to this program. You're committed to being an entrepreneur. You're committed to making this business move. If I can just relate this commitment to maybe weight loss. I want to eat better. I want to be in shape. And you never get off the couch. I want to eat better. I want to get into shape. You never join a gym. I want to eat better and I want to get into shape. And you never change the diet that you're on. You, my friend, are not committed. So we have to be committed to moving the business needle ourselves. Number 2, have a plan. With the commitment, there has to be a plan. It helps to have a clear plan with objectives. It helps to have a clear plan with a strategy, and not just objectives and strategy, but also tactics to moving the needle. So again, having a clear plan, both with objectives, strategies, and even tactics to help us move this needle. What is the needle that we're trying to move? Every needle is not necessarily going to move at the same time. Your profit needle may not move at the same time another needle in your business is moving or you desire to move. All right, so what is the needle that we want to move? What are the means to make that happen? What is our goal? And how will you get there? All right, so writing down this plan, developing this plan, acting on this plan, being committed to this plan will help you and I move the needle. Even as we talked about weight loss with commitment, even with weight loss, I mean, there are certain parallels there. Even in a weight loss or a strength training program that you may enter, a diet that you may very well be on or desire to be on, you are encouraged to have a written plan. Even with that, you are encouraged when you join a gym to have a plan. Hey, why are we here today? What are we going to focus on Mondays? Or what are we going to focus on Wednesdays? What are we going to focus on Fridays? Or whatever your workout schedule is. But you have to have a plan. So being committed, yes, very good. And number 2, having a plan. Number 3, I would dare say, is probably a little bit more personal, and that's you need to know yourself. We need to know ourselves as a business owner. We need to know ourselves. We need to have a keen sense of our potential, a greater sense of knowing even our limitations, our boundaries, realistic capabilities. All these different things, are critical in moving the business needle. If I'm not strong in a particular area, then I need to surround myself with people who are. We're gonna do a podcast in a few days on even having a mentor for your business. All right, so we need to know ourselves. If my strength is social media and my weakness is maybe marketing, then guess what? I need to surround myself, or I need to link up with someone that is strong in that area. Maybe my marketing needle needs to move. Maybe that is the needle that I want to move. Then guess what? I need to be surrounding myself with people that are very sharp in marketing, that know marketing like the back of their hands, to help me and assist me in moving that needle. So number 3, know yourself. Have a keen sense of your potential, your potential as a business owner, your limitations. And quite honest, it actually helps us to be just that, honest with ourselves and know our limitations. Even as I record this podcast, I don't sit here, as a Mr. Know-it-all, because guess what? Greg Wilson doesn't. I don't know it all. All right. But what I do, I connect with people who do know more than I, and I'm not afraid of announcing. I'm not afraid of my personal limitations, because if I have help, then guess what? I'm not limited anymore. All right. So know yourself, have a keen sense of your potential, have a keen sense of knowing your limitations, your boundaries, set those realistic capabilities that you have. All these are key to moving that business needle. And finally, commitment is good. Having a plan is better. Knowing yourself is great, but execution is imperative. So even knowing these 3 things, being committed, knowing myself and having a plan, all of those mean absolutely nothing if I am afraid to pull the trigger. If I'm afraid to jump off the diving board, if I'm afraid of stepping out on faith, as many people have told me in the past, execution is imperative. So in moving the business needle, there's absolutely no room for procrastination. There's absolutely no room for distractions. There's absolutely no room for delaying yourself. Pull the trigger, take that leap of faith, jump off the diving board, put your feet in the water, whatever adjective or way you want to describe it. But we have to execute. We have to execute. It all comes down to your own individual drive, the efficiency of that drive, your determination, and your performance. Execution is imperative. So we want to move the needle. We want to take advantage of the resources that are out there. But at the end of the day, we are responsible for moving our own needle. So let's look at these 4 things again. Number 1 was commitment. You have to want to see results. You have to want to move that needle. Number 2 was having a plan. Now, after I want to, I have to have a plan to make the want to happen. All right, so I need to have a clear plan. I need to have objectives. There needs to be a strategy. There must be tactics involved with this plan. And number 3 was knowing myself. Knowing myself. Having a keen sense of one's potential, having a keen sense of one's limitations. Know your boundaries. All right, and when you recognize those limitations, when you recognize even the boundaries that you may have within yourself, then enlist the help of others. Solicit their help. Solicit the help of someone that is better in a particular area than you are. Maybe you're not as we used the example earlier. Maybe you're not very good in marketing. All right. Well, guess what? There is a wide range of people out there in the marketplace that are better than you in an area that maybe you are limited in. And number 4, finally, was execution. We have to execute. We have to, have the plan. Yes, all that is good. But at the end of the day, we have to take that leap of faith. We have to step out on faith, even in some cases. We have to jump off the diving board. We have to pull the trigger. We have to put our feet in the water again to make some things happen. All right, so we want to move the needle. We're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back after these messages.
Does the thought of filing your taxes have you stressed? Supreme Fast Tax will take the headache out of doing your taxes. Your taxes will be filed error-free the first time.